So welcome back to the Rolling Crash Course. My name is Jim Schultz. I am still your tour guide, and we are now into episode number 3. Now, we just got through with episode number 2, where we talked about rolling defined risk strategies. So naturally, we're going to hop onto the other side of the fence with this episode and talk about rolling undefined risk strategies. Now, a quick little disclaimer. We've already covered a lot of things as they relate to strategy management in the strategy management crash course that's already on the YouTube channel. Now, my goal is not to just repeat all the things we've already covered in that course. So use the information in this course alongside the information in that course to give you a more complete, holistic view of position management. My hope is still inside of this very episode, you will discover a couple of brand new nuggets along the way that you can use when it comes to adjusting your position. So without further ado, let's hop right in, man. Episode number 3, rolling undefined risk strategies of the Rolling Crash Course. All right, now before we get into any specific strategies, a couple of important things to note. Number 1, one of the great things about undefined risk strategies is the simple fact that whenever you roll out in time, you're going to be able to do so for a credit. Now, does this mean that you should never roll an undefined risk strategy for a debit? Not necessarily, and I'll have more to say on that when we get into the FAQs in episode number 5. But the beautiful thing about rolling for a credit with an undefined risk strategy is whenever you do that, 2 things happen simultaneously. Number 1, you reduce your risk. Number 2, you widen your break-even points. These are 2 very, very powerful implications of rolling an undefined risk strategy for a credit, because with undefined risk strategies, here is priority number 1. This is mission critical. You need to control your risk. Before you ever think about generating returns, you need to control that risk. The returns will come. You need to make sure your risk is mitigated in the most efficient way possible. So, okay, now that we've got those couple of things in our back pocket, let's move into 2 of the most popular undefined risk strategies that we utilize here at tastytrade. All right, so we're going to start with the short strangle, but a quick little disclaimer that actually applies to any undefined risk strategy. If you're at 21 days to go and you're not profitable on the position or as profitable as you would like to be, then it's time to roll it out to the next cycle. You can keep the same strikes. You can even move the strikes up and down. Like, there's a couple different ways that you could handle this. But either way, it's time to go ahead and move this guy out. Doing so allows you to avoid the increased gamma in the position that comes near expiration. This is important to avoid because more gamma means more directional bias. That's not something that we want to voluntarily sign up for. So, all right, the short strangle. With a short strangle, you have a short put below the stock price and a short call above the stock price. And the simplest way to begin thinking about adjustments is this. If the stock is between those 2 strikes, don't do anything. The trade is working, so you don't have to start adjusting. Of course, if you want to be a little bit more preemptive with your adjustments, a little bit more aggressive, and start rolling your call down when the stock drops or rolling your put up when the stock rises, you could do that to help neutralize your delta. But for our purposes here, we're going to work through the simpler approach, which I'm not sure is any less effective than the more aggressive approach. So let's suppose that your put strike eventually gets tested. This is when you'll want to roll your call strike down to bring in more credit and improve your break-even points. When you roll that call strike down, look to reduce your position deltas by about 30 to 50%. Reduce them by more if you want to be less directional, and reduce them by less if you want to be more directional. Similarly, if the call strike is tested, roll the put strike up and do so such that your position deltas are again reduced by 30 to 50%. Now, keep in mind, as you make these rolls, this delta reduction is the magnitude of the delta, not necessarily a mathematical reduction in delta. Cutting position deltas from positive 50 to positive 25 is a 50% reduction. But in this context, cutting position deltas from minus 60 to minus 30 is also a 50% reduction, even though the number technically, mathematically, got larger. All right, so that's how you roll up and down. That's how you start thinking about rolling up and down when your strangle strikes are tested. But what about the time component? What about rolling out? How do we throw that into the mix? Well, this is a lot more of a gray area, and there's going to be a lot of subjectivity that comes into play. But here are a couple of things to think about. So, if it's very early in the life of the trade, like still 40 plus days to expiration, it might be a bit too early to roll it out just yet. Of course, roll it up and down to reduce those deltas, but staying in the current cycle, that might be the move here. Now, what if you're already close to 21 days to go? So anything, let's say 29 or below, and you're tested. Probably go ahead and roll it out too, because you're getting close to that 21-day marker where you're going to want to roll it anyway. Now, if you're in the middle, like somewhere 30 to 40 days to go, this is a judgment call for sure. Roll it out if you want to lessen your exposure to the Greeks, and keep it where it is if you want to benefit more from the stock reversing back in your favor, but this is very much up to you. All right, so that's how you begin to think about rolling a strangle. Again, more on that specifically in the FAQ section. But what I want to do now, let's move into the other strategy that I wanted to cover here today, the short straddle. So let's have a look. So similar to a short strangle, the short straddle has a short put and a short call, but here they have a shared strike. So when it comes time to roll, one strike is always tested. So how do you adjust your rolling strategy? Well, your first move, should you need an adjustment, will not be to roll one side up or down. That would bring you into an inverted strangle, which is definitely necessary at times. And it's a tool that we use often, but it's not usually our first go-to move. Instead, you'll look to roll out in time first. So not exactly the same process as a short strangle. All right, great. But how do you know when to roll out? Well, here you'll want to use your break-even points rather than the strikes themselves. If either break-even point gets hit, that's when I would look to roll out, especially if there's 20, 25, 30, 35 days to go in the trade. Now, if you're really early in the life of the trade, like 40 plus days to expiration, and one of your break-even points gets hit, you could maybe hold it a bit longer to see if it comes back before you want to roll, but I would give that a short leash, man. Again, this is very, very subjective, but it's something to think about, and you don't want to build bad habits. But holding on to the trade a little bit could be warranted here. All right, so rolling a short straddle is in the books. Rolling a short strangle is in the books. Again, guys, don't forget, use this crash course in conjunction with the other crash course that we already have on strategy management. And don't miss episode number 5 of this crash course, where we're going to go through the FAQs related to all of these different things. But that's it, man. Episode number 3, rolling undefined risk strategies, is in the books. Don't forget, if I can ever help you guys in any way, please reach out to me. You can email me, jschultz@tastytrade.com. We can connect on Twitter. I'm at jschultzf3. I would be absolutely honored to help you in any way that I possibly can. When you are ready, I will see you in episode number 4, where we're going to talk about adjusting your profit targets once you have rolled. I will see you guys in there.